Horseworkers here for Slap News. This is the Strike Zone, episode 5, here with Big Jeeves. What's going on, my man?
Not much. What's going on, Slap fans? We are here, Strike Zone 5. Man, we've been doing this week after week, and we're just getting better and better. We got some really cool stuff for you guys this episode. We're going to break down some stuff that maybe you didn't think about would be beneficial to stop fighters and their techniques. So I can't wait. Let's do it.
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of rumors coming out. Power Slap 2 coming up at the end of May. We're going to talk about that. A lot of the fighters are announcing some of the fights that are coming up. We're also going to have a very special guest. Duane Crespo is going to join us here today. He's going to talk about the light heavyweight division and where everybody is ranked there and what he's planning to do coming up in the very near future. We're also, as Jeeves said, we're going to go over some of the techniques. We're going to talk about some of the unique training styles. We're going to shoot the shit. We're going to see what Duane has to say about the new young rehearsal fighters coming in with all the fights coming out weekly on Rumble. We're getting the gift that keeps on giving from Power Slap, weekly fights, getting in front of you, staying relevant. Of course, Dana White and the brass of Power Slap continually pushing forward and making this into a legitimate sport, broadening the reach and making sure that this sport will continue for years and years to come. The acquisition of WWE, obviously by Endeavor, now merges that with the UFC and creates a monster powerhouse entertainment company, and Power Slap is part of that. And more opportunities are gonna come to Power Slap athletes, and the crossover between wrestling, UFC, Power Slap, and whatever else Dana White decides to do with Endeavor. It's gonna be an incredible experience. Let's go, Mr. Ray D, run the intro. We're back, Big Jeeves. We are here, episode number 5, as we said. Ton of excitement, ton of enthusiasm. I'm ready to go. I know you're ready to go. We've got Duane Crespo sitting here waiting in the waiting room. Let's get into it. We're going to bring him in. We're going to catch up with him. We've seen him in Vegas at Power Slap number 1. Unfortunately, he didn't get the outcome that he wanted. However, I know the hunger is there. The Iron Giant is coming back for redemption. Let's bring him in right now and get him rocking. And guess what? He has the best shirt in the game. What's going on, my man?
Oh, man, it's good to be with you guys again, man. Nice to see you guys.
Yeah, missed you, bro.
Thanks
for coming on today.
Of course, man.
All right, Big Jeeves, let's get right into it, man.
Yeah, let's do it. So, Duane, we've talked quite a bit, and I know you have quite the history with MMA, combat sports, and what really we got along on was strongman and your background doing a lot of strength sports and stuff like that. And we talked about it. So I just want to let the fans know, there's a lot of translation between strongman and Olympic type training and slap fighting, because technique is technique, learning how to move your body. And a lot of people that understand strength sports also understand that mass moves mass. So, you're ranked number 4 in the heavyweight division right now. And I personally believe that strength training and these type of techniques and having this background is going to be super beneficial in the heavyweight division. So tell me a little bit about what got you into strongman, how you enjoy it, and why you like it so much.
Man, strongman is a different sport, man, for sure. I want to say 4 years ago, I got into it. I had a little hiccup in my MMA fighting. Couldn't really get cleared on one of my fights. So I tried to find a different sport to do at the moment. Ended up looking, what's a sport for my size? I'm a big guy. What could I do? Saw some strongman competitions coming up. I knew nothing about it. I was like, let's see, man. Let's see what I could do. And it's addicting. It's definitely one of those addicting sports. Yeah, everything about it, being strong, technique, everything. It does translate from all combat sports, but it's just a different beast.
Yeah, for sure. And man, watching strongman, I can understand why you just dove into it, because watching these guys move these impressive weights, it's kind of like what goes on with slap fighting, where it's instant, it's hard, it's wow. So same thing with strongman. When you see these guys do these deadlifts or throw the stones or put the stones up on the thing, you understand right away, without knowing too much about the sport, how that these guys have worked hard to get to where they're at now.
Yeah, especially like the highest level, man. The what they do is insane. Cause like even like me, I was amateur strongman level. They're lifting very impressive weights, but nowhere near the world's strongest man. They're like half. Like these guys are doing 600 pound deadlifts, and in the world's strongest man they're at 1100. Like I can't believe the big gap in between just amateur to pro.
Yeah, for sure. And it comes with that just dedication, sticking to it, and again, going back to striking and MMA and combat sports, you've been doing that for a long time too. So you've just been getting the reps in, making it happen. How do you feel like having that base of strength sports and knowing how to, let's say, brace your body and do things like let's look at a strike, right? And even you here doing the stones, as we can see on the screen for the people following us on YouTube and Rumble, these type of movements require a lot of bracing. So when you're getting the strike, when you're taking the hit, a lot of that is bracing. So let's talk to that a little bit. Like, how's that helped you in your training and how it's translated forward to slap?
Funny enough, man, when you brought up a minute ago about the translating from strongman to slap, the first thing I thought about was bracing for defense. Is like as impact comes, you take that nice little belly breath, and just like figuring out how to keep your body still. In a strongman, the heavier the weight, you don't want to breathe. You have to hold in that breath, or the weight is gonna move a lot. So you really try to keep your body in the best position possible. So really understanding body mechanics, and that really translates to combat sports. And then obviously in slap, where it's so simple what we're doing, but to get very good at it, you have to be like really precise in all of your movements. Taking a hit, it's a split second decision you got to make. So like bracing and figuring out the right thing to do in a short period of time.
Yeah, and if you guys are following on YouTube, you can see this video of Duane pushing a truck. So, for those of you who don't know, when it comes to strength sports like this, it's not just about the brute strength. So, again, with slap, a lot of people might think like it's just a strike that knocks everybody out, but to be able to push a truck, your entire body is locked and braced, as we call it. So, really good core strength, really good bracing of your stabilizers. Only then can you translate that power forward. So, um, going back to slap, being that Dwayne has this experience where he knows how to brace his body, he knows how to prepare for big force either exerted or coming at him. You can see how this could be very beneficial to when you're taking your strikes. I mean, we see it with last week we talked to Isaiah, and if you guys go back and watch his fight, we talked about it, how he really braces himself for the hit, because a lot of getting knocked out is the movement in the brain and getting hit like that. So I think, like you said, Dwayne, the translation there is very beneficial to the slap fighters.
For real, man. It's something I didn't expect that was gonna help a lot.
Yeah.
Especially like even like talking with Vern, who has the Highland Games background.
Yes.
Um, that translates a lot too, and it's not something you think about, but you're like, oh, this makes sense. And it's the same thing. Like I have my strongman background, and it's very similar to Highland Games, if not the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's interesting for sure.
Yeah. Did you watch last week's fight with Jimmy Jumps, James Santamaria?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So you saw how his windup was very unique. Like it came back, that rotational, and even yourself, like I've seen some videos of you training and stuff. You have that strong rotation through the upper body. And if we look at sports like discus or shot put, those translate forward very well too, because it's all about the rotation. Am I right?
No, absolutely. That's why Vern is such a great striker. Highland Games throwing, they're really known for throwing, so he's getting his body every way to throw his strike. And I'm trying to figure that aspect out of it because we don't throw as much in strongman as they do. But I'm figuring it out.
What I thought was really cool was that when I spoke to Jay Santa Maria, he talked about the elastic man, and that's where he learned it from, some kind of like karate phenomenon. And it was really cool because he said the only thing that he actually tensed was his actual elbow itself. He let the rest of his body be limp so that he gets the whip throughout the rotation. It's very, very similar to, like you said, about the, a shot putter, a discus thrower, to be able to allow the rotation to go so far back and whip through, obviously, contracting every muscle within your entire body, all the way from your feet up, and allowing that elasticity to whip through the motion, which I think is, really, really cool to see. And I know, like, you adapt a lot of different training styles. We talked about your MMA background. Obviously, you've been able to do, a number of different things, and incorporate multiple training aspects. And I think that's really, intuitive on your part, and really smart, because you're able to work a ton of different techniques and use those techniques, in a concentrated and collective manner to be able to do it up there at the table and power slap. So we've got the tire flip here. Can't say I've ever seen this one going over the head. Usually you'd flip it forward, but Duane Crespo, in his pure beauty, he is going to do it a little bit differently.
Dude, that was insane. Shout out to Real World Tactical out on Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
He's a fitness guy in Miami, and he flips tires over his head for workouts with a 40-pound weighted vest. Really killing it. So I wanted to try it out because he be flipping over 300-pound tires overhead. I was like, I have a 200-pound. At least I thought it was 200 pounds. And let me just figure it out. And failed a bunch of times, but it's one of those things of figuring out the right technique and grit and just going for it, And
Yeah.
I get it. It's a cool little video for Instagram. It turns out it's not 200 pounds. I guess it's 270, and I did not know that at the time.
Wow.
I'm like, I would have never tried if I knew it was 270.
Yeah, but like slap news fans, you might be watching this and thinking like, "Oh, I'm gonna go try a tire flip," but I
No.
caution you to not go straight into a big tire flip like Dwayne. Like we were talking about, that involves a lot of technique, and it's not just bracing. Like Dwayne, we understand this. A lot of slap fans may not, who don't have a strength training background, but a lot of that force, that final flip, comes out of your hips and that heel movement that you get, that pop. So, and I know you've done a little bit of Olympic lifting in the past. Do you want to talk about how the power comes from your hips? So when you're standing there at the table and you can't move your feet now, so that's a big difference maker in translating power. So being able to have that rotational force, but then knowing how to drive out through your hips for the strike. Talk about how that's helped your strike and how that plays to your technique.
I think like the easiest way to think about it for someone who doesn't really understand what's going on is like the bench press. Everyone does the bench press. Like that's the fundamentally like the easiest thing to do in a gym. And the first thing they tell you is drive the floor, like drive off the floor. You push your feet and you drive off. And that concept, I believe, is something that helps with like the cleaning motion, like for stones or for Olympic lifting, which I've done more of stones. But I'm driving and trying to push off the ground, and obviously I can't turn too much body. I'm not getting a good like running motion to start, so I have to really drive my feet off the ground, lift up my hips, and roll everything forward, and have a really good clean. That concept helps a lot with the slap thing, because especially like a fighter like me, I have multiple different slap techniques and ways that I use my hips. In boxing, you turn your feet to use your hips. I can't do that here. I have to drive my feet, shift my weight in any way possible to try to get my hips into it.
Nice. Yeah. So these are the small, intricate things that a lot of people watching slap fight just on a commercial level, just watching it as a consumer, they don't get to understand how years of experience comes and plays into the three strikes you're getting. It's not just about getting up there and slapping guys. This technique, these reps that you've put in over the years with your wide breadth of experience, whether it be with combat sports or strength sports, this has definitely helped you. And I think, like I said at the beginning of this segment when we started talking, I personally think these kind of techniques and getting good at this kind of stuff is going to be the difference maker, if not in all divisions, I think specifically in the heavyweight division. Because let's face it, we're all big dudes. We all got heavy hands, you know what I mean? But it's the technique that's going to make the difference in the fights that, don't end on the first slap.
I mean, looking at the top five in the heavyweight division, they all got chins, man.
Hmm.
Every single one of them has chins. They're all known for it. I think I am the only one right now in the top five that got knocked out.
Hmm.
And that's saying something because I have a chin and it just shows the power that the bell has.
Yes.
But that whole top five, you expect them to go to decision or very close, third round knockout, second round knockout, because
Hmm.
they're hard to beat and there's something there. So you can't use your knockout power to beat these guys. How are you going to get even more power or more technique to win these fights?
Yeah. How do you see, like you've worked with Cole and you've worked with other new like guys coming up, and even just in your MMA stuff, you've worked with people. How do you see incorporating for the new guys? Like, how do you see them incorporating this kind of stuff into their own training regimens to try to up their game and learn some new technique? Like, where do you see that going?
That's interesting. Like, I would love to have like a camp in the future, for this stuff and
Hmm.
teach like my whole ideals of the sport on here. But as for individuals that have these different backgrounds, it's kind of like trying to figure out how to translate their backgrounds into this new style. Like you said, was that Jimmy? Was his name? Has
Yep.
that weird little elastic?
Yeah.
Maybe figuring out a strength program to help his unique swing.
Hmm.
Um, Obviously, these most of these guys don't have coaches, but if they were to get a strength coach, that could help a long way. Or even talking to a different sport, that could help. Like I'm
Hmm.
trying to get in touch with some discus guys,
Yeah.
like just to be able to understand their, methodology on how they throw, because it's a similar throw, but the way they lift is way different than I lift, and
Yeah.
I don't, I'm not gonna just like YouTube it to figure out what they're doing. I don't understand what's going on. So I'm trying to track some down, and that just helps my way of thinking. These guys, man, it's whatever their style is, they have to figure out how to adapt to it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And you were saying like looking at different sports and helping. So we were talking about this in Vegas a little bit. It's kind of like baseball, golf, tennis, even archery to an extent with shoulder strength and strengthening that whole thing. So I think there's a lot of sports that guys can look at and get training and benefits. Because when we saw that the Ron hit. It was very reminiscent of a baseball pitcher. That fine, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of translation and a lot of areas that guys can pull from and pull inspiration from to help their strikes. But just remember, don't move your feet.
Hmm. Dude, that Ron hit was definitely different because I have my baseball background, but I never thought of using a pitching throw because
Hmm.
like I'm not getting my shoulder movement in the way that I want to.
Yeah,
But he came down and it worked, so it now
yeah,
raises the question: is that something I try? Is that something I practice? Is that something because we saw it work against arguably the best guy in the league? So like, is that now a new thing that could work on almost everybody, or which is weird because this is the only sport you can't spar. So I can't just go into training and do my technical sparring and figure out new stuff and make it land. I
yeah,
have to figure out my new stuff in fights. But some fights are too important to try new things. So like, how do you get better? How do you learn better on a important fight? Like a contender fight. You can't try something new in a contender fight. You're gonna,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I think you're 100% right. Like, and in regards to where, the training style and technique, like, do you ever see there being a way that you're going to be able to, spar in training, whether it's, I know you guys have used pool noodles a little bit, to refine some of that technique. Like, do you think there can be some sort of, I don't know, apparatus created or some sort of, I don't know, further training style that would allow you to kind of mimic a real fight? Because it's super hard. I mean, let's say you fight 4 times a year in a 3 round match. That's 12 strikes a year, which is nothing compared to like the 10,000 strikes you'll have to throw to be able to master it. So how do you advance that in a way? I'm going to bring up on the screen for you guys as well also some of the training techniques that Duane is doing right now, and we'll talk about it.
I love this. The slapping the coin. That's brilliant. And I think you've played basketball, right, Dwayne?
Yeah, definitely. I've
Yeah.
played basketball.
So
I've done anything, like a lot of things in the past, man.
yeah, when I saw you
um,
slapping the coin, I was kind of like, yo, this is like, when you dribble with the tennis ball. So if you get good
yep.
with the tennis ball, you're gonna be great with the basketball.
So I'll break down the coin thing. Funny thing is not a coin; it's a little itty bitty rolled up piece of paper, and it's
Mm.
super small. And we're trying to get accuracy on here. And I'll give a shout out to the coach, Coach Haas, who created that whole drill. I'm currently not at that gym, but still shout out to them. They're doing good things. Um, it's super small, and the goal is to hit what we believe is the our target area for the chin, which is just right here in my palm, and hit that specific spot on that little itty bitty paper, and it
Mm.
moving in different ideas. So keeping my eye on the target and hitting that spot for accuracy. And I like to think I'm the most accurate, so I think it helps a lot. But that's the concept. It's such a small target, and I'm really only trying to hit here. If I hit here, I miss. If I hit here, I miss. I'm only trying to hit one spot.
Very cool. I think that's definitely unique. Obviously we didn't realize that was a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Looking at that type of training style, like is it still something that you're incorporating in your training right now, or have you kind of progressed a little bit into different actual techniques?
I definitely progressed into different techniques. That was strictly for accuracy and the concept of keeping your eyes on a target. You see a lot of the
Hmm.
new strikers. They when they wind up, their head turns, and that could be the reason why you club. That could be the reason why you miss, and strictly just not looking at your target the whole time. And if you notice, you could say flinching or not flinching, even like small movements on the defense side, their head moves. If you're not paying attention and you're hitting your same spot you're aiming, you might miss on that aspect too. So kind of hitting a moving target like that gives you the concept of like just knowing that they might move a little bit, and you're just being
Hmm.
aware on your swing. You're just like, okay, I'm good to go on the swing. This once you do that a couple times, you get the concept down. I think it's fine. I don't think it's something you need to do all the time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you've had how many matches have you had now? Four or five?
Three actually.
Three. Okay.
Yeah.
Like in any of them, if someone moved or flinched, like could you see it in real time when you were swinging, or does it just happen too fast and you really have no idea?
Big flinches, you don't see it in real time. You see it after you swing. You're like, oh, because your fingers didn't hit the target you're looking at. But
Hmm.
subtle movements, I've definitely have seen. You can see a little slight thing. It's kind of like you can't redirect your strike. That's never gonna happen. But you can
Yeah.
see like the placement at the last second for you to like dive into it. But
Hmm.
big movements, no, that's usually after where you see all the fighters. They're shocked. They look at the ref like, did he move?
Yeah. We've seen a couple athletes. I mean, Reese Archer, Waylon Frost, adapting the rollout technique. What do you think about that? And in regards to how it sits within Power Slap?
I feel like they're gonna have to figure out how to not squash the rollout because I think it's what people use for defense sometimes. But
Hmm.
to minimize what is going on, the Wayland thing where he's just like walking away, like I feel like that can't be okay. Like I don't know why I don't think it should be okay, but there's something going there that looks so weird. Is it flinching or is it the fact that he's just like going with it? I have no idea.
We were
Um,
Yeah.
kind of having that same convo during the fight, like when they were showing the replays. Me and Corey were just like, how do you call that, right? Like, is it now technique? Is this shying away from the hit? Like, where do we draw the line with the rollout, right?
I think probably the only controversial part of it is the fact that he was walking away from the strike. I
Hmm.
think if he rolled, I think the timing was almost right there where it was perfect, you know. But I feel like that he was walking away and turning around. That's where it was kind of like all of us looking like I don't know what's going on.
Hmm.
But I think they're gonna probably squash something, or just re talk about something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here because if we all get along, this is a shitty show. But in regards to that, I mean, you know what? They didn't call it, so it was an acceptable thing. It wasn't,
Mm-hmm.
a foul whether you like it or not. It was within the rule set that they had a power slap number one.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think it puts him at a disadvantage. Like, yes, he doesn't take the sheer blunt of the blow. However, in terms of the judging criteria, and if his match goes the distance, he's more than likely going to automatically lose because of that step out and not actually standing there and taking the impact and showing that, that fortitude and being able to, be the aggressor. So I think it can work for him, obviously, to try to take less impact. But I think if it comes down to the judge's decision, it becomes a really risky thing to do because you're actually, being knocked back is essentially what it is. Even though he's
Mm-hmm.
walking out, to me in the judge's mind, it's actually a knockback.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you could be losing on some of that potential. And I guess you got to play the technique however you want. But I don't know. I think you're probably going to see some adapt. You probably see a little bit of adaptation in the rules, but I think you might see, some variation change. And I think as any good slap fighter, any good athlete altogether, you need to keep evolving, keep changing. And as the sport catches up to you, you need to be able to, change it and evolve with the time to try and stay ahead of it. And, maybe right now, maybe Whalen is an innovator, maybe we don't know it yet.
Yeah.
Maybe he's on to some. I don't know. I mean, it's still so young. It's still so early. And as time goes along, even as we talked about Ron and the arm placement and using more of a baseball throw, like I think that strike will go down in history as a legendary strike just for
Mm-hmm.
everything that it was. But maybe that, like you said, is the impetus for a striker like yourself to reevaluate how you throw your strikes, looking at the different arm slot and placement. Because obviously, Darius the Destroyer, pound for pound, was the best, slap fighter
Legend.
in the world, and was never knocked out. I think he was knocked down, but he was never knocked out before that particular match. He's still not knocked out, but he's definitely was dazed and great for Ron to be able to pull out that victory. Bittersweet, and there's definitely a bit of a, I don't know, a romantic or fantasy ending to the way that fight
Yeah,
went. And,
yeah. Fairy
you
tale.
just have to love, you have to love the human and the story
Yeah.
and being defeated 3 times in a row. And for him to come back and get that fourth eventual, on the biggest stage of all that the two of them have had with the biggest payday. So I think that's, a true testament to that. And the heavyweight division as a whole is a very dangerous division because of the amount of power that all the guys bring. There's still some athleticism. Obviously, guys are going to continue to refine their craft. And Ron being one of the lighter guys, he has the potential to drop down to light heavyweight even, which is crazy to think that he can give up, 40 pounds to a guy like Darius. But he came out victorious, within that. Let's break down a little bit, Duane. I want to talk through the actual rankings that came out post Power Slap number one. I want to kind of get your take as to where all of the athletes are seated, whether if you think some athletes are too high, some athletes are too low. You've obviously competed against some of these guys, so kind of give us some insight in regards to how it felt actually being within this match, and we'll talk about some of the new guys. So let's off the top, talk about the bell. Your opponent in Power Slap number one. Going into it, you were the favorite. Everybody knows how the match went. How did it actually feel to take a slap from him, and what did you see in his game that you didn't realize he had before going into it?
So I talked to a couple people about this experience, man, and then also talking to the Bell. He's a great guy, man. I consider him a really good friend, and I talked to him a bunch after this, and it definitely caught me by surprise. Um, my defense for the all my past fights were basically like trying to see what their power is before I do anything. Because again, like I don't know anything about the sport so much yet, where I have a definite thing I'm doing. I have to test the waters. So that first slap from the bell, I took it and I felt nothing. Like it felt fine. So I thought it's gonna be like that the whole entire time. And then obviously I woke up on the second one. So something else happened there, Watching it back and watching all the bell fights, I found something super interesting. Um, I say this all the time. To beat the top level guys in this sport, you kind of have to like reach this like dark place. You have to find like these tough waters of like grit, like Chris Thomas, that after getting hit by Wayland, that coming back stronger,
Mhm.
reaching a dark place against these top guys. Watching the Bell's last fights, you never see his like eyes change. He's always just there in the slap fight, just hitting back, doing his thing. My fight with him, man, you see clear as day after I hit him the second time that his eyes change. His demeanor changes, everything, the way he's walk is different now. You could tell that he's in a different spot. And that all props to him, man. He won that fight, but he really I brought him to different waters and he came out on top.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, it was, a great fight. I think really to display, what the sport can be.
Definitely.
And the overall storylines were there. I think it was pretty well known before going in the fight that the winner of this match would be next in line for a title shot at whoever won between Ron and and uh, and Darius. So we know what the outcome of that. Ron was victorious, drops down Darius the Destroyer to number 2. And then we've got Dorian Perez moving up to number 3 with a pretty impressive victory.
Yeah.
What did you see? I mean, let's talk about Dorian first, because coming in, taking on Frank Holland, who is no slouch. I know Frank has had some bad luck here in Power Slap. People who only watch Power Slap and haven't seen Slap Fight Championship may not be aware of the history of Frank Holland. But he's a true seasoned veteran, has more experience than anybody else. And his testing metrics, I mean, he hits hard. He hits in the upper, 1/4 of all the athletes in regards to human force. So, what did you see from Dorian Perez at number 3 that impressed you in his match with Frank Holland?
So something I've always said about I know these fighters coming in before the event. Dorian, in my opinion, is the most dangerous heavyweight in the division to face
Hmm.
out of everybody. That's including Ron. That's including Darius. I think out of everybody, he's the one I would be worried about the most. Um, Only because he doesn't have the form perfect yet. Like he
Mhm.
still has like some kind of stepping or sometimes like you clubbing or the accuracy. He doesn't have it yet, and he's still dominating. So like he's not perfect yet, and he's still beating everybody. So when he starts to like really like get his craft on right, where he's perfect and gets the accuracy and gets no violations whatsoever, how do you beat a guy like that? So
Mhm.
he's a really tough opponent, and I was like, right now is the time to beat him. A year from now, he's going to be one of those guys that's going to be hard to touch. So
Yeah.
much the win was awesome. They put him higher than me because of that win, which was a huge jump. And I get it. You can't put me up one when I lost, so it makes sense. And now he has that fight with Darius coming up, so that's a great fight. But like I said, in my opinion, he's the toughest fight.
Yeah, man, that like it's kind of cool the way things worked out because I personally, I've said this to Corey, I've on Reddit, Discord, whatever. I'd love to see the Darius and Dorian go at it. Like, I think this could be like a legacy matchup for Power Slap. This might be one of those like where we come back 2, 3, 4 just to see these guys slug it out because Dorian, like you said, he's just gonna get better and better. And Darius is already arguably one of the top guys in the game in this division without a belt right now. So, yeah, I'm excited. If this happens, I want to see this over and over again.
Best of 10.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, right now at number 5, you have Ryan Phillips, who's obviously on the shelf with an injury. We have yourself at number 4. Do you kind of see yourself as the gatekeeper of the heavyweight division, of kind of that upper echelon, where if any of the athletes ranked below you want to be seen as legitimate, they have to come through you and prove themselves?
I believe they think that. So I definitely believe that all the new coming people, they see the top five as where you have to be. Especially the heavyweight division is the most stacked division. You
Hmm.
have what were the coaches on the show in this division is the reason why the people on the show didn't have a title shot. Like it's much a deeper stacked division, you know. So the fact that if you can make it to the top five, that alone is like making it in the top five in the UFC. Like
Hmm.
that's a really big thing to do, you know. So I think all the new guys, upcoming guys, they see that as okay, that's where I want to be, and these guys are tough. How do we beat these tough guys?
Yeah, it does seem like the more prestigious of the like all the like anybody who's competing in any of these weight divisions, getting to the top five is very prestigious. But I see what you're saying about the heavyweight top five. Like these are the OGs of the sport. So if you're gonna stand out and be in the top five, you're right. It's gonna mean something huge to these newer guys like Austin and Cody Matthews coming in like this. Like that definitely five and up, that's the goal. That's where you want to be in this division. And if you can knock off any of these OGs, it's going to mean a lot for your career.
I mean, that's why you already see the call outs, man. You already see the call outs for
Yeah.
the top five. It's like, man, you guys did one fight. Let's slow down.
Let's bang, dude. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about your upcoming fight with Power Slap number 2 and who your opponent is in that particular match.
So I will be fighting May 24th. It looks like at the Apex against Cody Cox, number 8 on the rankings.
Damn.
Newer guy. Met him down in Vegas. He's a good dude. He's
Yeah.
a nice guy. I talked to him a lot. He is he's a good dude. Very interesting. I see that he's super hungry about this fight. So like it's a
Mhm.
very interesting upcoming fight for me. You know.
Tell me something.
Looking
Is
at
it
his
gonna
fight, oh,
Sorry, I was just gonna say, tell me something, Dwayne. Is it gonna be easier to strike the new guys versus the last class? Because you guys were kind of like homies. You guys were all in the same house together. You built some relationships. Is it gonna be easier to go in and go for the kill with some of the newer guys because you don't really have friendship type relationships with these guys?
I feel like that doesn't bother me as much. I feel like I do more damage to people I know, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like you let loose a little bit more because you know them, you know.
I got you.
And I think that's all because of sparring in combat sports. You're fighting your training partners the most, and those are
Hmm.
your friends. You're hitting them the most. You're hitting them harder. You're really pushing yourself there, and then you fight a stranger with the nerves, you know.
Interesting.
So I feel like when I know somebody, it kind of helps a little bit more. Like if you look at the Ryan Phillips fight, I've never hit anyone as hard as I hit Ryan. Like I hit the bell hard, but not as hard as I hit Ryan. And he was my closest friend, you know, of all of them. So I don't know if that's the reason, but fighting the new guys, man, it's awesome. Especially like they're super respectful, at least for now, you know. Like I keep getting messages from the new guys saying like, "Oh my God, it was awesome to see you, learn from you, exciting to fight you," you know. And I'm all for it, man. If they're looking up to me and they want the fight, I'll give them everything I got, and hopefully they do it in return, you know.
absolutely. I mean, looking at Cody Cox's fight that you were able to see, what about that match stood out to you?
I feel it. He got a lot of information down. I think that's probably the biggest part for him in that fight. Is a lot of people in their first fight ever, if it's one slap, you get no information. You don't
Mhm.
get the defense. You don't get what worked for you, what didn't work. I feel like in his fight, he swung on one. He swung on three. He got hit differently. He got hit on one. He I think there's a lot of information for him to absorb of what a fight is going to be in slap fight, in power slap, you know. Um, as for me in my first fight, I had no defense, you know. I hit once. I didn't know anything. I still didn't know nothing, you know. And I only hit once, so I didn't even know if my striking is good. So I feel like he has that advantage of when I first fought, you know, all the information, you know. But As for experience, obviously I have the more experience. I have the combat experience as well, but I feel like that is what I saw the most. The fact that his fight was so much going on that I feel like that could help.
Yeah. How much of the experience do you think is going to play into your upcoming match? I mean, you just gave him a ton of credit saying that he learned a lot, within one match, but you have two additional matches on him. How much do you think that experience factor is going to play into the eventual outcome of this match at Power Slap number 2?
I think it comes down to my coaching experience, man. It's the ability to create something new. So like he learned from Ryan, and like I said, me and Ryan were close. Me and him talked a lot and really riff ideas of how to like create something. And so like
Yeah.
his base is learning from somebody. I have the ability to continue creating something new. Like when I see Ron strike, and I'm like, I like that. How do I make that mine? So that experience, along with the multiple fights against higher level talent, like not to take anything away from Austin, but obviously it's not Ryan Phillips, it's not the Bell, So that experience, along with my coaching experience, gives the edge. But he knows that he's training super hard, like he knows what he's getting in for, and that's smart.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it definitely wasn't Ryan Phillips, but it was Austin Turpin, who seems to be coming out hot.
Hot.
I'm sure you've seen the recent interview that he did with Power Slap that they just
Yeah.
released yesterday. He is a man on a mission. He is calling out almost everybody in the division. He's coming. He thinks he's different. What did you see in his match, and what are you seeing from him right now? And do you believe the hype and the antics that are going on?
Terp Daddy.
Not to take anything away from him, man. He won in the fight, but like I said, there's a lot of information going on that fight. There's a lot of fouls or missed fouls, and a lot of mistakes from both sides. So to have that kind of like cockiness from a fight that is considered, like not the cleanest fight in the world,
Yeah.
that you should probably put that down a little bit before you start like getting people that are clean. But nothing to take away from him. He's a strong dude. He's a personality for sure. And that stuff goes into fights, man. If you got the skill and the personality, like you said in the past, man, you're probably gonna be great.
Yeah, he's been training his ass off though. I've been seeing him on social. He's been sending me stuff like videos and stuff like that, and he's been working. So it's nice to see these new guys have that hunger, and because like you said, they got to knock you guys off to be anything in this sport. Like they're so far down in these top tens. If you want to make a difference, you're gonna have to train your asses off to get up to your guys' level, who have these strong backgrounds of combat sports, strength sports, and just years and years of putting in the reps in other avenues. You know what I mean? So it's good to see them working. You boys better keep working until May 24th, and then you get your shot.
But yeah, just to bring in like the competition side of for like the heavyweights, and why it's harder. The road to the belt in the heavyweight division is really hard. Like you can't just win one fight and get a belt opportunity, as you could kind of see in the other divisions. Not to take anything away from the divisions, obviously, but you see that. If to get to the top five, you have to beat Ryan. Ryan, yeah, the record isn't really the greatest thing in the world, but you can't knock him out. It's not going to happen. How do you win a fight against a person you're not going to knock out? Frank the Tank, number 6. He's super accurate. He's going to hit the same spot. How do you keep your composure when you're getting hit in the same spot? It's like it's going to test you, these fights, man. And then you get to the top 5, the top 4, and now you have true heavies that are 265, all of them. How do you get that raw power of the people that kind of have to cut weight to make the division? So like it's an interesting division. It's a hard division. They're hungry and they're to come up, but it's a harder road to the belt. You can't just like skip. You can't skip the line, man. It's you got to win something. A tough fight.
Yeah. I mean, totally. I definitely agree with you. except for if your name is Cole Young, who is someone who lives very, very
Yeah.
close to you. And you can win one match and get a shot at the title. So
Yeah.
we'll see how that
I,
goes. We'll see if it's too much too fast or if he's up to the challenge. Do you have some insight on Cole and what you think his possibility is going to be here?
I think Cole has a good shot. It's interesting. Like he has as you saw, the knockout power, and Chris Thomas is knockout power. Chris Thomas, a good friend of mine. He's an awesome dude. Um, People are gonna tank on the part for Cole getting the opportunity. I will say this: I would like to squash the part is he deserves it because everyone else is saying no. In the
Mm,
UFC, if you say no to a fight and someone like 9 people said no and number 10 ranked said yes to the fight, you got the title shot, man. We saw that before with like Al Quinta in the past.
hmm.
So like the fact is, someone else was offered a fight to fight Chris Thomas for the title. They said no. Someone else's opportunity now,
Mhm.
man. And
Yeah.
you have a kid who's hungry, so he's hungry. He said yes, man. Like I said, I'm no longer at that gym, but I know he's grinding. I know the gym. They're really pushing him, so they are taking that seriously. Chris Thomas, you see his feed. He's taking it super seriously.
He's
Mhm.
training.
He asked for this fight because he
Yeah.
believes there's a person that might be able to hit him.
Hmm.
So
Mhm.
if people think that he doesn't
Yeah.
deserve the shot, man, just being willing to fight a guy like Chris Thomas can be
Yeah.
enough. Especially with the spectacular knockout.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Like,
mean, Chris Thomas, I mean, great dude all around, obviously, with tremendous power. And as you alluded to, like that it's probably one of the thinner divisions if you look at the records on pace. And you know what, all the power, and giving Cole Young the absolute best opportunity. He's probably in the best position after some of the guys, like you said, that turned down the opportunity and the fight that exists itself there. It's going to be a massive platform. If Cole's able to pull this out, it'll obviously catapult his career,
yeah.
exponentially. But he's up up against a very, formative and one of the most definitive, title holders, being 5-0, which Chris Thomas is.
Yeah.
So very impressive, definitely exciting. Two great guys. I mean, I think Chris Thomas is one of the most pure, genuine, amazing guys actually within the entire sport. And it's going to be fireworks come May 24th. Absolutely, dude.
Yeah, man. And like with guys saying no, okay, if it's not like if it doesn't have to get in the way of your family life, your personal life, your emotions, your health, I think it's too early to be saying no to fights like this, especially if they're reaching out to you and giving you a title shot. I know I don't want to say anything, but I know Chris has said in the comments here and there who it was and what happened, stuff like that. But I think it's too early to be saying no, man. Like they're giving you an opportunity, and as we know, like the opportunity the Power Slap is giving the strikers is a great opportunity. They really want to help you guys, see you guys succeed and level up in life. So I think that was a rough no for whoever said no. I don't know where that puts them now with the promotion, right? So you said no to a title shot once. I mean, and that's why Cole got it. You're right. Like, he was there, right man, right time, and young, hungry, and he catapulted himself to a title shot just by being the guy that said, "Fuck yeah, let's do it."
Again, I don't like you said. I don't know what the guys are thinking, what's going on, if it's the wrong
Hmm.
time, if it's the wrong month.
Yeah.
Um, but I can't say no to a title shot, man. Like I don't care
Right.
who it is. Like they're like, hey, move up to super heavyweight to fight for a title against this guy. Sure, let's do
Yep.
it. It
Yep.
like especially like I said, like I understand that the other divisions is kind of like it's not super full at the moment where it's a harder journey. It will be in
Hmm.
the future,
Hmm.
obviously. It's is in mind. It's not guaranteed that I'm going to get another contender fight.
Right.
Like so, the fact that I lost my contender fight to me is like it bothers me because it's not guaranteed that I'll get another one.
Yeah.
So if you offer me a title fight, the answer is yes. Like,
Yeah.
hey, it's next
Right.
week. Okay, yeah, sure, cool. Is everything cleared? Am I good to fight for next week? It's a yes. It's against
Yeah.
this guy. I don't need to name like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. Um, but
But
that shows a difference to the attitude for certain fighters.
yes.
But again, we don't know anything that's going on. It could be the wrong month, and you're allowed to say no. Like
Yeah.
I could say
Of
like,
course.
hey, I can't fight in May. they're not gonna be mad about it, completely. But in my personal opinion, you offer me something like that, they will cancel appointments.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's kind of like Corey said, like if Cole goes on to win this fight, he's catapulting himself into the books. Like the sport's so new that this is when you guys get to set your legacies and what's going to be talked about in 10 years from now, what's going to be talked about in 20 years from now. So saying no this early, and like you were saying, Duane, saying yes this early, those are very big decisions. So I hope everything's all right with the striker that had to say no. I hope everything's like it's nothing major or anything like that. But yeah, what a missed opportunity, I think.
Yeah, for sure, man.
All right, Duane, let's finish up. Let's talk about your match coming in here. What can people expect from you, and what are you going to bring? Come May 24th, Power Slap number 2. You get called out, walking out to that, stage, going up to the table. What are you bringing?
Man, like we were just talking, man. I'm hungry. I don't know when the next contender fight is gonna be, so I have to walk through this guy. He's a good dude, man, but I have to walk through in some fashion, where it puts me on notice. There's a lot of interesting things going on with the heavyweight division, like you guys said, that Ron might not be for long the heavyweight champion. So there's openings coming up possibly, So I just need to stay in the running. I really don't like that I lost, and that just shows the competitor I am, man. So May 24th, man, I go there to put all my hard work, all my 8 years of combat experience into here, and not leave that table without getting my hand raised.
Nice.
Awesome, man. We appreciate you as always joining us. You're a great insight. It was great to have you talking about all the techniques, the strongman, breaking down the heavyweight division. And we wish you nothing but the very best in your training. We look forward to seeing you in Vegas.
Thank you, man. Good to see you guys, and it's very soon, man. Get to see you guys very soon. We can hang out.
Hell yeah, love you, bro. Thanks for coming on, bro.
Yep, for sure.
All right, there we go. Duane Crespo joining us. I think that was a pretty technical and analytical segment with him. We haven't gotten that deep in with the strikers in regards to it. So great to see him and everything that he does and continue to push the sport, be a great ambassador, reaching out to the other athletes, being a true cog in the actual, division and category. Really, honestly, great dude. Is there a nicer guy in the sport, Chiefs?
No, man, I loved hanging out with Duane in Vegas. He welcomed us with open arms the minute we walked into the hotel lobby. And you know what? I'm going to give Duane some motivation too. I know you said you didn't like that you got knocked out. Bro, I didn't like that you got knocked out either. So I don't want to see that the next Power Slap. So let's make it happen, bro.
Totally. Like we said, kind of the gatekeeper for the next generation coming in up against Cody Cox, so it's going to be very interesting. Both these fighters coming off a loss.
Yeah.
Looking to get the kick or to kickstart their career, that upward trajectory. And if they want to get into and move up into and keep and stay within that top 5 in the heavyweight division, they obviously need to prove themselves. Getting a win at Power Slap number 2 will allow that individual to bounce up. I think both these fighters are safe. I mean, if they get a second loss, I still think Power Slap will keep them on, the actual roster itself. There's not a deep enough roster here. I think as time kind of evolves and goes on, the potential, just like the UFC, if you amount 2 losses in a row, there could be that opportunity that you get cut off the roster. I don't think we're there yet, but I think these athletes need to train and be hungry as if that is the case, because you never know. You're never guaranteed the next match. This match coming up that you signed the contract for is all that you're given, and you never know what can happen in these matches. So you know what? Obviously staying up there, being an ambassador for the sport, being open, bringing your best that you can, putting on a show, entertaining the crowd and the audience, and you know what? Ultimately winning will give you staying power within it, because I truly believe if you continue to win, they can't deny you the opportunities. Just as we've seen with the bell, it hasn't been officially announced, but there's no way that the bell doesn't get a crack at Ron for that heavyweight belt.
Yeah, Totally, man. And like you said, just guys, stay ready. This sports, we always talk about this. The sport's very new. This is your chance to make your mark before the floodgates really open. Because knowing Dana White, knowing UFC and Power Slap, it's not going to stay this tight and cute for a long time. They're gonna blow this thing up. And like I was saying to Duane, man, like these are the matches that people are going to talk about in 10 years from now, 20 years from now, as some of the landmark matches that made Power Slap what it was. So definitely put your heart into it. We want to see you guys out there. We can't wait to see you guys in Vegas. So yeah, just stay hot, stay ready, stay training.
Yeah. And I mean, right now, we don't know if Power Slap number 2 is going to have 4 title matches or not.
Yeah.
We've got insight and we believe that there's at least 3 of them confirmed. And there's one that we don't know for sure if it's going to take place. So it's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds, how often, that these actual champions compete. Are they going to force them to compete every single event? Are they going to allow them to kind of pick and choose? We're going to see what happens. I think a lot of it ultimately is going to come down to the health and the safety of the athletes, where they're at, how much damage
100%.
they take. And, that will dictate how frequently they'll be able to fight. And we're going to see what happens. I mean, it's always evolving. The rosters are going to grow, just as Duane alluded to. In a year's time, I think you're going to see the rosters probably be double the size, and that the sport's going to continue to grow. With the 24th being a Wednesday, which I think is a phenomenal move on behalf of Power Slap, carving themselves out a unique niche. And this was very, very strategic. I mean, and the reason why I say that, actually, and I'm not a massive wrestling fan, but I'm going to try to pull back into what I believe to be the case. But obviously we have UFC mainstay on Saturday night. That is never going to be dethroned. Endeavor has shown that they're going to put out 3 or 4 UFC fight nights or numbered events every single month. So Saturday, pretty much off the table. In regards when it comes to the wrestling side that is now part of Endeavor, we have Monday Night Raw.
Yep.
And then I also believe SmackDown is on Thursday. Correct me if I'm wrong.
You're correct.
So there we go. So we have Monday, Thursday, and then obviously the special events that they have, typically take place on a Saturday. And we've seen WrestleMania this year was a 2-day event, Saturday and Sunday at SoFi Stadium, 80,000 spectator stadium for WrestleMania. What an incredible event that was. Pretty wild to see that it's grown to that level. I know they've been to AT&T Stadium as well, in Texas and stuff. So definitely a big spotlight. So I think fitting in there Wednesday, if you look at Endeavor, now they've occupied Monday. Now they've got Wednesday. They've got Thursday. They've got Saturday. And so those events on a weekly basis, or however frequently they're going to have these events, aren't going to overlap. They're not going to, we talked to Dana during the the post-fight press conference at Power Slap number 1, and he talked about how difficult it was for his team to be able to produce 2 shows in the same city on the same day. And he even said that his team would kill him if he decided to do that again. So I think the pivot to Wednesday, where it's a standalone event on a standalone day, makes a lot of sense logistically, but it also does for the viewership and being able to captivate that audience. And you're going to see the cross promotion of it. Obviously, we've seen, with the UFC and MMA, them actually sending out, promotion for Power Slap. I think you're also going to see that as it comes in for the wrestling as well. You're going to start seeing Power Slap being, disseminated across those people, those mailing lists that have been established in the past. And, it's really the same type of consumer. I think there's some age demographic that kind of plays into it. But, if you can captivate that combat sport person, and the way that I really look at it, wrestling is definitely an older person sport. We're talking people, 40 plus are into wrestling, hardcore, kind of those golden era, the 90s, the early 2000s.
The attitude era, totally. Everything like that.
Yeah. UFC, kind of 30 to 45 is kind of that range where the hardcore UFC, consumer is right now. And Power Slap has proven to be, a very young generation, the 18 to 30, 18 to 35. And so they're able to scale through all of the different types of, all the different types of consumers in today's market, going after more of those millennials. And it's interesting, I've seen some different stats, Power Slap predominantly male dominated, but there's actually more women interested in this as well than you would actually believe. And even when we look at the statistics, on our YouTube channel, and we're seeing, 20% being female, It's definitely a good sign that there is some interest there.
Mhm.
I think it'll always be male dominated, but great to see that there is a contingent of females that watch this particular show. So,
Yeah, definitely. And I think Corey, like I had this conversation with you. So after we got back from Power Slap One, we posted a lot. So a lot of our circles, they found out that, the slap, we were doing the slap news thing and stuff like that. And anytime I've had a conversation with the female about the trip and about Power Slap, the number one question is when is the females league coming? So it's
mhm.
definitely that the females want to see the female league as well. It's not just maybe the guys that want to see the female league. And um, I'm a huge wrestling fan. I grew up a wrestling kid, The Rock, Stone Cold, that whole era, D-Generation X, all that. But I really love this move. I think it's huge for sports entertainment and combat sports because with the crossover potential, like the women in WWE are some of the greatest athletes in sports entertainment today competing, right? So
Mhm.
it would be great to see them come over to Power Slap. We'd be able to have a roster of women that are willing to, you know what I mean,
Mhm.
stand there and go at it because this is what they're conditioned with. And if you look at even Sheena Bathory, she does a little bit of sports entertainment style wrestling in her off season or whatever it is she considers right now.
Mhm.
So I love this move. I can't wait to see how this, if at all, it plays over or crosses over. But as a business move, I thought this was massive. Congratulations to everybody in Endeavor, Dana White, UFC, everybody involved. Great move, guys. That's awesome.
Absolutely. I mean, that is episode number 5 of
Bang
the Strike
bang.
Zone. Big Jeeves and myself. If you like the content that you heard here today, if we're bringing you value, do us a favor, subscribe to this channel. It means a lot. Turn on that notification bell. Leave us a comment below if you want to see any guests on our channel. If you have
Yeah.
any topics that you would like for us to discuss in a
Mhm.
future, episode of the Strike Zone, let us know in the comment section below. And last but not least, if you know anybody else that you think would get value from this content, please share it with them. Honestly, that's all we're here for, trying to get our message out to as many people as we possibly can. The more people that know what we do, the more people that follow us on Instagram at slap_news, the more motivation it puts behind us to keep on going hard, double
Yeah.
down, get you guys more inside information, breakdowns, content, analysis, everything that we do. We're some crazy motherfuckers here just going, living out a dream, trying to bring this, I say we're the
Yeah.
hardest working beat reporters in slap fighting. I believe that through and through.
Yeah.
And no one's going to stop us because we're going to the top, my man.
We're going to the top. Thank you guys for tuning in for another week. This episode, we started this as fun, but this could be an episode for the new guys to watch and, learn some stuff from an OG like Duane. We talked about a lot of technique and stuff. And like Corey said, we work hard for you guys and we're going to continue working hard for you guys. So keep tuning in every week. Like, subscribe, comment, do everything you can to show us love, man. That we appreciate it so much.
Until next week, we're out.